Hey there! Today we are going to review how to solve one-step equations. And there are really only four types of these. So the ways to solve a one-step equation is we're always going to do what's called the inverse operation, which means we're just going to do the opposite of whatever is happening to our variable. So if we look over here at this first equation, x plus 5 equals 13. First, we need to find our variable, which is the x, and we need to say, well, what is happening to x? We're adding 5 to it. The inverse operation of addition is subtraction. So instead of adding 5, we need to subtract 5. Now, if we were to just do that on the left side, it wouldn't be an equation anymore because we're changing one part of it and not the other. So for this to maintain its equality that makes it an equation, we need to also subtract 5 on the other side. Some of you might remember in previous grades you could draw a line, so you're sure to do the same thing on both sides of the line. That's fine as a way to remind yourself. When we do this and subtract the 5, these two 5's cancel out because a positive 5 and a negative 5 makes a 0. So all we're left with on the left side is x. Our equal sign stays in the middle, or if you've drawn your line, it stays on the line. And on the right side, we have 13 minus 5, which equals 8. Once we have our variable by itself on the left side, we're done. And x is equal to 8. We can check this by plugging it back in and saying, well, if x plus 5 equals 13, and I put it in 8 instead of x, is 8 plus 5 13? And yes, it is. The next type is subtraction. Once again, we're just going to be doing the inverse operation. So instead of subtracting 7 from x, we need to add 7 back to it to get our answer. The negative 7 and positive 7 again cancel out. I am left with just an x on the left side. My equal sign stays in the same place, and 14 plus 7 is 21. Once again, we could check if we would like, and check that 21 minus 7 equals 14, and indeed it does. Next type we need to talk about is multiplication. 3x, remember that if we do not see a math sign between two numbers, that means they're being multiplied. So this is really 3 times x, but we just don't write the times symbol. The inverse operation to multiplication is division, so I will divide by 3. We also need to recall that the fraction bar is another way of writing a division symbol. The 3's will divide out, and instead of 3x, we're now left with only 1x. But we should realize that we don't need to write that 1, we can just write the x by itself. My equal sign stays in the middle, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. As always, we can check our answer, say 3 times 4 is equal to 12, and it is. This is, of course, remembering that a number right next to a parentheses with no math operators between it is multiplication, just like a number next to a variable. The last one is division, which I've written again as a fraction bar, but this could be written as x divided by 5 equals 7. The inverse operation to division is multiplication, but we can also think of this as we're really multiplying by the reciprocal. So if this was a 2/5, we would multiply by a 5 over 2 on both sides. Since we just have an x over 5, this is actually a 1x, so I'm going to be multiplying by a 5 over 1, but we should know that we don't have to write anything over 1, we can just write it as the whole number. The 5's will cancel out, leaving us with just x on the left side, and x will be equal to 7 times 5, which is 35. Again, as usual, we will check our answer. 35 divided by 5 is equal to 7, and that is in fact 7 equal to 7, so we're good. Hopefully this was helpful in our review of one-step equations.